beer, a Reno microbrew, and popped the bottle top. As he sucked down some beer, he moved into the main living area of the camper. Ginger was sprawled out on her stomach on the sofa, wearing just the short red underwear with lace bottoms and her long black hair covering her face. Her matching bra hung from one of the window cranks. He sat in his leather swivel chair and set his beer on the coffee table. "I scored some good blow," he said. "This stuff will knock your socks off." He laughed to himself when he realized she wasn't wearing socks. His girlfriend said nothing. She had obviously passed out. Brian continued, "Listen, I know I have an early call tomorrow. Silas has missed more lines than my demented father." Well, his father was technically dead, but Alzheimer's had destroyed the man's memory for the last 5 years of his life. Not that Brian had really noticed, since the two of them had not spoken since Brian cut the man off during the middle of the long run of his 80s sitcom. Hey, it wasn't his fault that his father was stealing money from his account and gambling in Vegas. Brian had been forced to emancipate himself from his father at age 16, just 2 years after his mother died of a drug overdose. He picked up a pink Hello Kitty mirror and set it in his lap. Then he ran 2 lines of coke with a pocket knife, and he gazed at his girlfriend. Man, she was really out of it. "You sure you don't want some of this?" he asked her. No answer. Ginger remained motionless. He shrugged and ran the first line into his right nostril. He rubbed his nose, making sure all of the white powder found its way into his nose. His head quickly swirled, and he glanced back at his girlfriend. God, she was beautiful. He thought about the woman outside, taking all those men inside her, and he felt like doing the same thing to Ginger. But first he cleared the last line of coke into his left nostril. He shook his head as he tried to orient himself to the room. He felt down and confirmed he was starting to rise. Now he really wanted to take Ginger. But first he picked up his beer and sucked down the rest of it. Now Brian got up, dropped his pants to the floor, and danced his way across the room to the music in his head. He got to his knees, reached across with his head, and nibbled on the fringe of her underwear. Then he slipped his fingers up between her legs, expecting her to moan to life. The woman had an insatiable sexual appetite. She would screw him any time, anywhere, and nothing was off limits. When she didn't move to his touch, Brian pulled his fingers out and slapped her tight ass. She still didn't move. Man, she must have taken another sleeping pill, he thought. Outside, the woman next door was screaming, with pleasure or pain. The beat from the music changed from a 60s hippie vibe to a heavy tribal drumming. Confused now, Brian poked Ginger's butt. Then he crawled toward her head and whispered, "Ginger, you all right, girl?" Nothing. He felt her back, and it was cool to touch. Then he noticed her normally perfect skin tone was somewhat mottled. Now he swept her hair away from her face, and open, glazed eyes stared back at him. Horrified, he flung his body back, hitting the back of his skull on the edge of the coffee table, knocking him out instantly. Chapter 2. Reno, Nevada. The Roman Casino and Resort was the newest addition to Reno's growing host of casinos. Nobody would ever mistake Reno for the over-the-top Big Brother to the south, and that's the way Keenan Fitzpatrick, Fitz to his friends, liked it. He stood at a window in his living room on the 17th floor of his condo unit provided by the casino as a perk of his job as chief of security. Fitz knew they only gave him the one-bedroom place for one reason: they would always know how to find him. The hot August sun had just escaped behind the Sierra Range, and the city lights had an ethereal impact, with their colorful lights flashing, luring gamblers to come and drop some money. Fitz usually worked the evening shift, since that's when most of the nefarious activity happened in casinos, so he was about an hour from his start time this Thursday.